The lesson.
Oh yeah.
At which point did the production side of things come for you? Like a while after the DJ?
Yeah, I think it was pretty similar time to when I was getting into DJing in clubs and stuff, that I had an MPC and I was, starting to mess around with that. So it would have been, around 17, 18 that I probably had turntables and a MPC that I was kind of, getting into it.
And then like, obviously, over time with whatever you do, if you keep doing it, your skills progress. And production's no different. But do you find that maybe like the style of production that you were trying to make back then is significantly different to the kind of sound that you're trying to pump out now? Or is there some similarities or?
Yeah, I don't know. I actually, like, on this tour, a few people I bumped into, they're like, oh, I want to do some stuff with your, sort of more old school beats and stuff. And I don't really think of it like that. It's just kind of I just make the music that I make. I'm like, I'm going to try and make
this particular
a trap sound or I'm going to try and make an old school beat or whatever. My whole technique has just been, sampling. Kind of, like, as much as the record labels don't want me to say that, like, I'm sampling every day. Like, I still do it. Like, it's where I get my inspiration from. And like, luckily when I was younger, I was buying so many records. That's where everything was going, that I've actually got this huge, sample library that I put together. And then, like, last year or the year before, I actually took the 2 months or whatever it took me to go through, folders and folders of all these samples and projects that I'd sampled little bits and this and that and organized it all. So now I've got this dope kind of thing. I'm not buying a whole bunch of records these days because I've got this huge library of sounds. And, because it's all this dragged files, half the time I don't know where it's coming from, what it is. I just kind of try and manipulate it, make it sound different. I'm not using loops. I think back like for Evolution, I was kind of, if I heard a cool loop, I'd be like, all right, let's get in a beat put over it. Next sort of thing. Whereas these days I'm taking a lot of stuff out, I'm playing more stuff, but I'm often still trying to make the bed of the beat like an organic sort of feel with some sort of record sound, whether it's just some percussion thing. Sometimes it's just the crackle of the vinyl with a little pop that kind of sets the rhythm off for me or something,
Because I think like now you can't, particularly you guys, like you're not really, even if you sample, you're not really in a position where now you can get away with sampling like a 4-bar loop and then just loop. And
hell no. Well, yeah, there's a couple from like way back where I'm often like, yo, did we? Yeah. What happened to that? Did anyone hear that? Has anyone heard that? But, we've never been super, it's not like I've ever gone for some Marvin Gaye or
some
anything
super
like
obvious
that.
that you're going to get spanked on.
Yeah, I've always tried to stay under the radar. But yeah, I'm super still into that like real nice warm kind of body for the beats when I'm making them. Like even if I'm making some more trappy stuff just with 808s, like I'm always starting with some like vinyl percussion thing, even if it's like just a tambourine sound that's got some crackle on either side. Like I just need that.
Yeah, that's
it
your
helps
shit.
me. Yeah, that's my shit.
When you first got into production, and I guess even now, I mean, who were some of your influences, some of your favorites in terms of beat makers and producers?
I think like the obvious ones back in the day, Premiere, Pete Rock album, Soul Survivor. Man, I haven't heard that. So is that what it's called? Soul Survivor?
Yeah, Soul Survivor and Soul Survivor too. Yeah, I got
Right.
I got doubles of both of them at home.
Yeah. Like that was huge for me. Prince Paul.
Oh yeah, word.
Like I was super into Prince Paul. That was so weird. I just remember like we'll put it on and laugh and giggle. We'd be laughing at how just absurd it was and all the crazy little samples that he chopped together. I was super into that stuff in the early days. I still am, I just don't listen to it all the time. I don't have the time to go back and listen. But then I got real into like Darkchild, Timbaland, stuff like that. These days, like I really like Party Next Door. I like his production. I like the sound of that stuff. Like I listen to that sort of stuff these days. People often assume I just listen to Aussie hip hop, but I get into all sorts of stuff. I'm trying to think of other producers. It's funny, producers kind of get the least shine. So like I'd probably tell you a bunch of favorite beats, but I don't even know who they're by half the time,
What about Australia? Like locally?
Australia, man, Trials definitely definitely way up there. Suffer up there for sure. You know, when we're starting out, pretty much forever actually, my main kind of motivators have been Hermitude, coming from the area, and they were just super above everyone, in my eyes anyway. When we're growing up, they were just so dope, so young, and like have continued to kind of. I still look for them, you know, for like inspiration. They're always kind of improving their sound and changing and evolving, but still keeping their roots. And you know it's a Hermitude track. Whereas like a lot of EDM stuff you hear, you're like, oh, there's another EDM track. Could be anyone. It's kind of this blanket sound. Whereas they're in that realm, but they stick out because they still got their own.
Yeah, man, they're kicking goals, man.
Big time, and still the most humble dudes ever.
And I guess in terms of talking about production styles and sounds, one thing that I notice about Sydney is, and maybe other states, but I don't know, Sydney kind of is just the one that stands out for me in terms of diverse sounds within hip hop these days. So like you've got kind of like your Death Wish casts and that more sort of boom bap traditional New York sounding style. Then you've got like Forte and Cursor coming out with the more street orientated stuff. Then you've got guys like yourselves, which is the stuff that's, I guess, I don't know if mainstream is the correct word, but the stuff that sort of gets pushed more so on the radio. And then you've got I think Mano Crooks. It's the more it's more that sort of like with the 808 and the trappy sort of sound. How do you guys, I guess, first of all, how do you guys find the I guess the landscape in Sydney, and how do you guys feel you fit into that whole that whole scheme of things?
Yeah, well, I suppose when we started going to gigs, like when we all moved to Sydney, early 20s, we definitely felt like we didn't totally fit in, but everyone was always cool with us. Like we never had any problems with anyone. Like we've done gigs with Death Wish, with everyone, and they've always been super, super supportive of us. But and then it probably wasn't until Obese first block party we kind of did, where like we really got to know Spit Syndicate, and then through them Horror Show, and we kind of realized there were other people on a kind of like, it's weird then we're probably the new generation, that we're kind of a little more headed in the same direction as us. So I've never felt like, we didn't necessarily fit in with some of the, I don't know, rougher crowd or something, but we were always at all those shows. I loved the music, and that was what was pushing me to make my own music, but I knew I wasn't going to make that music. And but yeah, we had a good crew with the Spitters and with Horror Show and with Earthboy and Hermitude, all those guys. We kind of had, I felt like we had a lot of similar like-minded people around, all kind of helping each other out. Like Down Under Beats crew, they were from the Blue Mountains as well. Do you remember them?
Yeah, I definitely remember that name. I didn't know that they were from the Blue Mountains, though.
Yeah, well, they actually were giving me all my first lessons in beat making, because they won the first ever Triple J Unearthed. So that was set to be like, it was Joe New and Dielectrics were the rappers, and then it was Codex and Platypush. There were two DJs. So they had like a similar thing to us back in the day. It was like two turntables, two MPCs. Like we were like, in Hermitude, they had the two that MPCs. Like we're all kind of like on this tip up in the mountains. Just too much times up there, just tapping on buttons, So yeah, I feel like we always felt like we fit in Sydney, the scene, even when we weren't, obviously a part of whatever was happening when we first moved down there and we're going to shows. Everyone was always super cool to us, and they, it was always a good vibe, and they booked us for shows, and it was always all cool. Yeah,
I actually think like it probably won't ever happen, but like I'd love to go to Sydney and see a gig where all these different brands of hip hop are covered at like one hip hop festival.
Yeah.
Like that. And I think that because there appears to be like quite a bit of stuff happening in Sydney. I mean, there's a lot of stuff happening everywhere, I think, but Sydney's definitely on my radar, and I'm looking at Sydney now as the place that kind of has, you know, like it kind of shifts from the hoods of and Adelaide had it, and you know
they maybe still got it.
Well, the hood still got it, but you know, like Melbourne, you know, with LC and Obese, you know, that there was a time where everyone's at their peak or whatnot, and now I'm sort of looking at Sydney. And it's a lot of young dudes coming through, but just like I said, the different styles and lots of it. To see all that on one platform, I'd pay good money to see that.
Yeah. Well, yeah, Sydney's spread out. You know, it's super spread out place. Like, I suppose Adelaide, I don't know. I've never lived here, but it seems quite small.
Yeah, man. Like I wasn't aware until like I think when I chopped it up with Forte about, you know, West Sydney is like a completely different pocket to
completely different, you know, to inner west.
Yeah, like,
and then you go east, and it's like,
and the population numbers. I think West. Don't want to be quoted on this, but I think West Sydney has a bigger population than all of Adelaide.
Yeah, it potentially does.
That's great.
Liverpool, I think they're saying, is going to be like the new CBD, or there'll be more people living in Liverpool than the CBD in like 4 years or something.
The lesson. 27. Oh, yeah.